Klonoa Dawn to Phantomile is a cutesy dreamlike 1997 platformer game developed and published by Namco for the PlayStation 1, the guys who made Pac-Man. It came out in December 1997 for Japanese audiences and was later released on March 10th, 1998 for the US and June 5th, 1998 for the EU. This was the first game in the Klonoa series, and even though it was the first entry, it was not the first iteration of Klonoa I played. I have a bad habit of playing the second game first in most series throughout my childhood. Welcome guys, gals and they-thems to my retrospective of Klonoa, Dawn to Phantomile. My name's Beckwan, and if you like retro games, Pokemon and other TCG openings to boost your serotonin levels, don't forget to subscribe. This is a niche game with a very loyal fan base, and for a good reason, so I'll forgive you if you've never heard of it. The story follows Klonoa and his blue friend, Hupao, in their efforts to save the world of Phantomile from the evil spirit called Gadius, intent on turning it into a world of nightmares. The game is in 2.5D. This means the stages are rendered in 3 dimensions, but the player moves along a 2D path. I love these styles of games along with cel-shaded games. They have such a unique retro look to them that, in my eyes, is timeless. The game is directed by Hideo Yoshizawa, who conceptualized the setting as a dream world that would appeal to children and adults. The Klonoa character was designed early on, and the environments and other characters were designed around him. Dawn to Phantomile received positive reviews, being praised for its clever level design, impressive graphics and visual appeal. Some critics thought it lacked in certain gameplay innovations and was excessive in its Japanese cuteness. In retrospect, it is considered one of the best 2.5D platformers and one of the best PlayStation 1 games. The game went on to have a sequel, Klonoa 2 Lunatea's Veil, PlayStation 2 in 2001, as well as multiple other titles including Moonlight Museum on the Wonder Swan, an exclusive to Japan, and Klonoa Beach Volleyball, which oddly came out on the PS1 a year after 2. It was remade for the Wii by Beckwan in 2008, and a higher definition remaster of said remake alongside Klonoa 2 are included in the Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series compilation. The environments of Klonoa are rendered in 3D, but the gameplay takes place on a 2D plane. The player moves the protagonist Klonoa along this path. He can run left, right, up, down, he can jump, he can hover for a short period of time with his flapping ears. The path may often curve, overlap itself, or branch into different directions, providing a further puzzle element to the game, instead of being completely linear. Paths visible in the background may be traversed later in the stage if you can figure out how to reach them. Klonoa can grab enemies using a large ring powered by his spirit friend Hupao. After grabbing an enemy, they are inflated like a balloon, and the player can either throw them as a projectile weapon at other enemies, or use them as a springboard to perform a double jump, where they pop like cute little bubbles. Enemies can be thrown into the foreground and background, as well as along the 2D plane, which can trigger switches or reveal hidden items. The stages are laced with obstacles that must be traversed by using a combination of these techniques. Some stages end in boss fights, which take place in a circular 3D arena, or head-on against a 2D plane. The game is set in Phantomile, a land fueled by dreams people have at night. An anthropomorphic animal named Klonoa has had a dream about an airship crashing into a nearby mountain known as Bell Hill, and the next day an airship does indeed crash into the mountain. Klonoa and his friend, a ring spirit named Hupao, decide to investigate. It starts off cute and fuzzy until they find a dark spirit named Gadius and his henchman, Joker, on the mountain searching for a magical moon pendant so he can turn Phantomile into a world of nightmares, all while kidnapping the diva Lufenas in order to prevent her from renewing the world with her song of rebirth. After a brief scuffle, Klonoa finds a pendant under the bell and ventures back to his home in Breezegale, where his caretaker Grandpa, or Gigi, tells him that the chiefess of the nearby Forelock Forest, named Granny, knows about the pendant. The pendant is left with his caretaker. Klonoa and Hupao travel to find Granny, but they end up having to detour to the kingdom of Jugpop to stop the water from flowing backwards, which was something done by Gadius in order to kill off the Forelock Forest. After rescuing Granny from Joker, she tells them about the legend that involves the pendant, the legendary Moon Kingdom. Ghadius and a dream not of this world. Okay, for a kid's game, Ghadius is horrifying. His human face is unnerving, the way he swallows things up inside the void of his cape. It's no wonder people didn't like him. He looks like a right creep. Anyway, Granny asks about where the moon pendant's being kept, and Klonoa answers by saying Grandpa has it. Joker eavesdrops on the conversation and ventures off to steal the pendant before Klonoa can arrive back. Once there, Joker ends up bombing Klonoa's home whilst Grandpa's nearby, stealing the pendant after doing so. I forgot all about the bit where Gigi gets obliterated by a B-52 bomber. Klonoa is unable to reach Grandpa in time and he ends up dying in Klonoa's arms, but not before telling him to get the pendant back, which he says is his destiny. Klonoa is distraught by the loss of his caretaker, but Hugh Power reminds him of their mission. If you think that bit stings, wait until you get to the end. It's just one of the first games to make me cry. And for a kid's game, it has some very profound storytelling, especially for its time. With the help of the flying fish Pamela, Klonoa and Hugh Power head to the Temple of the Sun and confront Ghadius at the top, asking him about his motivation in turning Phantomile into a world of nightmares. Ghadius answers by saying he's motivated out of revenge against those who banished him. Ghadius disappears and Klonoa ends up battling Joker. After Joker's defeat, the Moon Kingdom crest appears. Klonoa and Hugh Power make their way there with Pamela's help. There, Hugh Power reveals himself to be the Prince of the Moon Kingdom, saying that his ring spirit form was merely a disguise. Despite this, Klonoa continues to help Hugh Power, and they make their way to Ghadius, whom they eventually defeat. However, an ancient nightmarish beast known as Nahatum, who is birthed using the feast as a living battery, and Ghadius' own nightmares, is revived just before he dies. Klonoa and Hugh Power eventually defeat Nahatum and restore peace to Phantomile, with Lufenas thankful of her rescue. Later, a noticeably guilt-ridden Hugh Power finally tells Klonoa the truth, that he was never from Phantomile at all, and that all the memories they had shared together prior to their adventure were fake. Klonoa is devastated by the news and initially thinks it's a lie, but Hugh Power reaffirms that it is the truth. Hugh Power then mentions that when Lufenas sings the Song of Rebirth, Klonoa will not be able to stay in Phantomile any longer. Moments after, Lufenas begins to sing, and a vortex appears in the sky, slowly sucking Klonoa forcefully back to his own world. Now realising that the bond they shared was truly real despite the fabricated memories, Hugh Power chases after Klonoa and grabs his wind ring, with Klonoa himself clinging onto it, not wanting to leave Phantomile. Eventually, the ring slips from Hugh Power's hands, and Klonoa is taken back to his home world. The vortex closes, and Phantomile is restored back to normal. For it to roll back around to the happy-go-lucky jingle of the title screen is jarring. The first time I finished this, I sat for around 5 minutes trying to comprehend why my emotions had been so badly blindsided by a kid's game with a fluffy long-eared cat. It's soul-destroying. This was Hideo Yoshizawa's 10th project. Yoshizawa was known for having previously directed the Ninja Gaiden series for the NES at Tecmo, a very different style of games. The idea for Door to Phantomile originated when Yoshizawa wanted to create a more cinematic game, following his dissatisfaction with other developers not prioritizing story. The game was originally planned to be an adaptation of the manga Spriggan, but the licensing fell through. Not wanting their work wasted, the team morphed what they had built into an original game. The original concept was more serious and featured robots, an ancient ruins motif, and this is the original concept of the main character. It's a lot less cute. The main character was a robot that would defeat enemies with spinning iron balls. This idea was dropped for a dreams motif and a more comical story. Yoshizawa's established the dream concept because he was interested in exploring the idea of where dreams go and where they are forgotten. He envisioned a world where these dreams could be collected and felt players could relate to the setting in their own dreams and experiences. Namco felt that the game would appeal to a wide audience, thinking the adventure-like aspects would be enjoyed by children and the emotional plot twists would be appreciated by adults. Lead designer Tsuyoshi Kobayashi conceptualized the fast-paced action gameplay. Originally, the game used 3 buttons, but was reduced to 2 for quicker input and faster play. Klonoa and other characters were designed by Yoshihiko Arai, and the initial designs of Klonoa had a shadow-like design, and the character was called Shady. This was probably the stepping stone to Klonoa's final name, and primary colour, with the Japanese version of his name being pronounced Klonoa, and Kuro in Japanese meaning the colour black. This is likely not a coincidence, and a clever design choice. Arai felt that the design of Shady lacked colour and dropped it. His next design had cat eyes and long ears, and he believed that a person's eyes and silhouette are their foremost features. He added a large hat and collar to give him a childlike and mischievous quality. The character has features of a dog, cat and rabbit, but is not explicitly any particular animal. He commonly refers to him as a long-eared cat. His hat also features Pac-Man design. After Klonoa was designed, the setting and other characters were designed around him, having now adopted the Dreams theme. The enemies were designed as nightmarish. Klonoa and Hu-Pao's movements and cinematics were based on motion captured data. Some of the cinematic animators acted out on their own motion capture. In addition to the professional actors, the use of mocap in video games in the 90s was not commonplace as it is today with AAA games such as The Last of Us and God of War. The 3D graphics and cinematics were made with Lightwave 3D. The levels were designed in Soft Image 3D, and the background music was the work of several different composers, each working on their stages independently. My favourite tracks are The game was revealed at the 1997 E3 trade fair with a video demonstration. In previews, both IGN and GameFan compared the 2.5D gameplay to Pandemonium. Namco stated they hoped the cartoonish antics of Klonoa would appeal to children, the target demographic. The game was also presented at the 1997 Tokyo Game Show with playable demos and an actor in a Klonoa costume. The game was published by Namco on December 11th, 1997 in Japan. The soundtrack was published by Nippon Crown in February the following year. It was originally going to feature only a selection of the songs because the entire score could not fit on a single disc, but it was postponed so it could be upgraded to a 2-disc set to fit the full score. Japan also received a manga based off the game, published by Enix in March. Namco published the game in North America in March 1998, and it was published in Europe on June 5th by Sony Computer Entertainment Europe. It struggled to gain sales in North America. It sold 51,441 copies when the weekly Japanese charts were released on December 14th. This placed the game 4th for the week, 1 position lower than Shining Force 3 Scenario 1, and 1 position higher than J-League winning 11-3. The sales also make Klonoa Daughter Phantomile the week's second best-selling PlayStation video game and best-selling Namco video game. The game remained in the top 50 for 10 more weeks, when sales had reached a total of 159,284. Sales data for the US and EU copies are not as readily available, and as far as I'm aware, this game did not do well commercially outside of Japan, likely due to lack of promotion or the target audience being missed due to being overshadowed by other competitors in the mascot platformer genre, such as Spyro and Crash. I don't even recall seeing the game on shelves as a kid, because if I did, I would have bought it. As a result, a copy of this game outside of Japan is as rare as rocking horse shit, and in turn means you'd have to spend a pretty penny to get a physical copy. The version I own is slightly rarer. I'm lucky enough to own a promo copy of the full game that was likely sent out to reviewers or used at game shows, and it has the complete game. I bought it for a measly 14 quid on eBay many years back, and I haven't seen one for sale since. The game featured a different variation of cover artwork depending on the region you're from, with the Japanese version looking like this, the US version looking very similar, with more of an action pose from Klonoa, and a PAL copy is getting a completely different cover overall, with a 3D render of the titular hero instead. Daughter Phantomile was included in a PlayStation 2 compilation of Namco games titled Nam Collection in July 2005. The Japanese exclusive compilation commemorated Namco's 50th anniversary and included 5 original PlayStation games by the company. It was also re-released for Japanese mobile phones in July 2009, and as a downloadable PS1 classic on the PlayStation Network in December 2011. Critics label Klonoa Daughter Phantomile as Namco's first notable 3D platformer, and a bid for creating a gaming mascot. GameSpot called it one of the best side-scrollers in years. Critics praised how the game built upon its simple controls and maneuvers to create interesting gameplay. Computer and video games liked how the game's level of design lent itself as a satisfying puzzle element rather than just an exercise in platform skills. IGN wrote that it was perhaps the best platformer on the market, and the first 2.5D platformer that makes use of classic 2D game elements without sacrificing the versatility of a 3D environment. Critics praised the level design and diverse environments. Although well made, some argued it was somewhat formulaic and lacked innovation. Edge explained, "It uses platforming mainstays to create surprisingly pleasing, if generic, gaming experiences." Game Informer recommended it to fans of classic platformers. Ulrich Steckberger of Maniac praised the game and only was critical of the game's short length. The gameplay and graphics received praise, with Edge believing they rivaled some film CGI. The in-game graphics and visual artistry were also commended for their quality. The game's Japanese cuteness was met with mixed reviews. Some thought it was overly cute. Game Revolution complained about the character voices and labelled the cuteness nausea-inducing. Others, like Edge and computer and video games, appreciated the game's cute aspects. Because of the game's cuteness, Game Revolution felt the game was geared towards children. Indeed, Namco itself stated that the game was geared towards children. They also believed the game was too difficult for young players, while likewise too simple for more skillful gamers. Others agreed the game was too short and could have been a bit more challenging. Game Informer did agree that the game appealed to younger players, but felt the game had a fair challenge and could appeal to those looking for a simple game. Namco won Best Character for Klonoa in the 1997 Japan Game Awards. The game was deemed the Platform Game of the Year by 1988 for VideoGames.com, which called it a sleeper hit and a triumph from an unexpected source. Klonoa Daughter Phantomile is remembered for its blend of 2D gameplay and 3D visuals. Critics praised it for retaining classic side-scrolling gameplay while still keeping alongside the industry's transition to 3D. GameSpy, Polygon, and Games Radar Plus ranked it as the 5th, 10th, and 25th best PlayStation game of all time, respectively. Nintendo Power called it arguably the best platformer release for the PlayStation, and GameSpy called it the best 2.5D game ever, and one of the best platformers of its generation. In 2015, Hardcore Gaming listed the game on their 200 best video games of all time. The game spawned a series of sequels, including a direct sequel titled Klonoa 2: Lunatea's Veil for the PlayStation 2, as well as other titles for the Game Boy Advance. The original game was remade as Klonoa in 2008 for the Wii, developed with key members of the original team, including director Yoshizawa. The compilation featured a high-definition remaster of Daughter Phantomile and the original Klonoa 2, titled Klonoa Fantasy Reverie Series, and was released on July 8, 2022 for multiple platforms. The remaster is built from the Wii remake, but incorporates elements from PlayStation's original. An anime film set in the same universe as Daughter Phantomile was announced in 2016, but was then cancelled in 2019. There has also been a manga and rumours of possible TV series in the works. However, I'm not holding up too much hope on anything new in the Klonoa universe. A third game would be great, and the sales of Fantasy Reverie could boost our chances of getting one. But nothing has been confirmed yet, so I'll have to make do with the games I have until then. So that's Klonoa. One of the first 2.5D games I played, and one of the ones that's probably most beloved in my collection. I love that little furry dude, and I really hope he gets another outing soon. My name's Beckwan. If you like my content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps a bunch. I have a Ko-fi page, so if you want to support me more, please go to there. You don't have to give me money, you can just follow me. I always post on there about new upcoming videos, and if you want to also find out what I'm up to, follow me on my social media. Links are in the description. Anyway, I'm going to get back to playing some other games. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye!